Aaron Corey and Dana Haynes, two journalists, travel to Smith's Grove Sanitarium 40 years after the Haddonfield murders in 1978, to interview Michael Myers, who was apprehended when Dr. Samuel Loomis shot him from the Doyle House balcony at the end of the film. Dr. Ranbir Sartain, Michael's new psychiatrist following the death of Dr. Loomis, informs them that Michael is able to communicate but chooses not to. Dana captures the scene as Aaron approaches Michael and talks to him, but he remains silent despite displaying him his mask and referencing Laurie Strode. The two journalists leave Smith's Grove Sanitarium and drive to Laurie's house, a strongly fortified and dilapidated farmstead, where they pay her for an interview, which she accepts unwillingly. Laurie has spent the last 4 decades suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder and preparing for Michael's return. Her feelings have resulted in 2 unsuccessful marriages and the loss of custody of her little daughter Karen. Aaron and Dana express their desire to learn why Michael committed the murders in 1978 and invite Laurie to meet with him in a final attempt to persuade him to speak before he is transferred to a maximum security prison. Laurie kicks them leave, but not before accepting the money they gave. Dr. Sartain insists on accompanying Michael while the transport is prepared and patients are loaded onto the bus, and the bus departs. Laurie's granddaughter and Karen's daughter, Allison, is heading to school with 2 friends in Haddonfield and tells them about the burden her family faces as a result of her grandmother's history, and she debunks the town idea that Michael is Laurie's brother. Laurie is watching Allison in class when she looks out the window. She visits with her grandma, who hands her the $3,000 from Aaron and Dana and urges her to have fun. Laurie arrives at Karen's house during a family meal and suffers a panic attack, which Allison consoles. Meanwhile, the bus transport had crashed in a ditch, killing the security guards and scattering the inmates over the road. A guy and his son are traveling down the road when they come across the bus and decide to investigate. While the father is gone, his kid takes a weapon from the vehicle and comes across a fatally wounded security guard who tells him to flee. He explores the bus and is surprised by Dr. Sartain, accidentally shooting him in the shoulder. He flees back to the truck and calls the cops. Michael arrives from the back seat and murders him. The next morning, Sheriff Frank Hawkins informs a deputy that Michael Myers escaped the transport and will almost definitely return to Haddonfield to complete what he began 4 decades ago. Dana drops Aaron off at a gas station and goes inside to pay for the gas. He discovers a dead mechanic missing his overalls and a cashier whose jaw was ripped open inside the desolate station. Meanwhile, Michael assaults Dana in the bathroom, and when Aaron arrives to help Dana, Michael murders him by repeatedly pounding him into the door, killing him, then strangling Dana to death. Michael inspects their truck and retrieves his mask, which he puts on. Laurie finds out about the plane tragedy and breaks into Karen's house to demonstrate her lack of security. Laurie leaves after a brief disagreement about Michael with Karen and her husband, Ray, and arrives at the gas station just in time to see Aaron and Dana's bodies being recovered. Michael explores a crowded street in Haddonfield on Halloween night, filled with families and children trick-or-treating. He enters a shed behind a house and grabs a hammer before going inside to murder the single inhabitant. He replaces the hammer with a kitchen knife and proceeds on to the next residence, stabbing another woman through the throat with the knife. Allison is attending a school-sponsored Halloween party with her friends when she receives a call from Vicky requesting her to come over after Julian, the child she is babysitting, falls asleep. Allison gets into an argument with her boyfriend, Cameron, who throws her phone just as Lori calls to tell her to go home. Julian informs Vicky that he saw a masked man standing at the doorway at Julian's house, but Vicky dismisses it as his imagination and sends Julian to bed as her boyfriend, Dave, arrives. While checking the closet at Julian's request, Vicky unlocks the door and is attacked by Michael, who is hidden within. Julian flees the house and contacts the police. Lori, who is patrolling the streets in her pickup, hears the dispatch call on her CB radio and rushes to the house where Sheriff Hawkins is conducting an investigation. Lori shoots Michael through a window after discovering Vicky's body, only to discover it's his reflection in a mirror. Lori and Hawkins search around the nearby houses and discover Michael. Lori shoots him, but Michael is gone as she reaches the corner. Allison abandons her boyfriend at the party and asks Oscar to walk her home. Allison declines his attempts, and Oscar falls behind after noticing Michael observing him. Oscar tries to flee but is stopped by a fence and impaled by Michael. Allison returns and discovers Oscar's body, and she is pursued by Michael before taking sanctuary in a neighboring home. Karen and Ray arrive at Lori's fortified home to await Allison. During their hunt for Michael, Hawkins meets Dr. Sartain, who leads them to Allison. Despite Dr. Sartain's objections, Hawkins knocks Michael over with the police SUV and gets out of the vehicle to shoot Michael at point-blank range. Dr. Sartain stabs Hawkins in the throat with a blade hidden inside a pen and murders him before attempting to put on Michael's mask. Dr. Sartain throws Michael and Allison into the back of the car and travels to Lori's residence, determined to reunite them. Allison informs Michael that he spoke to her, and Michael breaks past the security barrier, drags Dr. Sartain out of the truck, and stomps on his head as Allison flees on foot. Ray goes outside to offer coffee to the police officers stationed outside Lori's house, only to discover that they are all dead. Michael approaches Ray from behind and strangles him. Lori notifies Karen of Michael's arrival and directs her to the concealed safe room while locking and barricading the front door. Michael smashes through the glass panels in the door and confronts Lori, who escapes by shooting Michael's hand with a shotgun, removing 2 fingers and forcing him to flee. Lori patrols her house room by room, securing each one with security gates. Lori runs into Michael upstairs. Allison comes just as Lori and Michael stab each other and sees Lori fall from the balcony. When Allison investigates, Lori is gone, and she enters the safe room with Karen, who informs Michael. Karen shoots him with a rifle and stuns him as he appears. Lori emerges from the shadows and assaults Michael, knocking him down the steps and into the safe room. Karen and Allison exit the secure room, but Michael reawakens and clutches Karen's ankle. Michael is stabbed with his own knife by Allison, and the two flee the room. Lori flips a switch, causing metal bars to swing into place, blocking the exit and trapping Michael within the safe room as it fills with gas. Lori ignites a flare and throws it through the bars, igniting the room with Michael inside. Laurie, Karen, and Allison flee the burning house and grab a ride in the back of a pickup vehicle speeding down the road. As they are led to safety, the three women embrace.